You are literally the first hitchhiker I've ever picked up.
Really?
Yeah.
And people are nice hitchhiking, but they don't usually go to the lengths that Chinese people have gone.
Did you ever encounter an area or go to a place where you were just like, I gotta get out of here?
And then he started getting like upset, like, why don't you want to hang out with me? Why don't you want to spend the day with me? He'd lock the door at this point. Wait, no, 15.
15?
Yeah.
Okay. Not including this one?
No, not including this one.
All right. And
So this will be 16.
yeah. That's awesome. Who drew it for you?
I drew it.
You wrote the Chinese?
Yeah, of course. I'm hitchhiking to South Africa. You think I can't make a hitchhiking sign?
Brilliant. That's so good.
Oh wow, it's so much cooler in here.
Yeah, it's a bit humid. It's not really hot outside, but it's kind of humid, isn't it?
Yeah, humid and wet. Thanks so much.
No problem.
Something?
It's okay. I got it. You are literally the first hitchhiker I've ever picked up.
Really?
Yeah. Okay, let's see here.
I wonder what ride this is for me.
You can
Like
clip
what number?
this
Oh.
in this. Have you ever kept track?
Yeah. So like last year, how do I open it? Oh, this way?
Yeah.
Last year, I think in total it was 300 hitchhikes total.
Wow.
300 and something.
All right. Well, let's start from the beginning. So, you're from Canada. You're from Toronto.
Yeah, I'm from Toronto. I'm now hitchhiking from, I started in Guangzhou, so from China to Cape Town. I think it's going to take about 10 months.
And you've already done a stretch before, a different stretch, and that was from...
So it was kind of, so backtracking a little, I started out last December, I guess.
Yeah.
I was meant to fly out to London and hike through the UK for 3 weeks, just doing hiking, camping, hitchhiking.
That was the original plan.
That was the original plan. It was a 3-week round trip. Didn't get on my flight home. Ended up going into mainland Europe, hitchhiking throughout mainland Europe. Then I met a friend in Spain, just south of Barcelona, and he was doing a hitchhiking trip from, his thing was Southampton to South Africa.
Okay.
And then for the next 9 months, I went with him all across the west coast of Africa.
That is so cool. So now this time you're going from China.
Yeah.
And you're going to go through Africa. I'm assuming you're going to go through different countries this time.
Yeah, so like kind of the inspiration for this trip, because last year honestly was so spur of the moment. It wasn't like a planned thing.
Yeah.
But now, just kind of after falling in love with the continent and loving Africa and having such a nice time there, I've been inspired to do the East Coast. So now I've done the West, I'm going to do the East, and that was the inspiration for this trip.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
And then so from here, before you came to Chongqing, you hitchhiked from Guangzhou all the way to here.
Yeah.
How many different rides did you have to
12.
take? 12 to get to here.
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
Wait, no, 15.
15.
Yeah.
Okay. Not including this one.
No, not including this one.
All right. And
So this will be 16.
yeah. So like hitchhiking isn't really a thing in China other than in Tibet. It's a lot of Tibetans hitchhike.
Yeah.
So was it difficult here compared to other places, or?
Honestly, I started also incredibly ignorant to the May Day holiday and not knowing. And I started on May 1st. And it was just so chaotic, and there were so many cars, but everyone was going into so many like areas and different places that if I was hitchhiking in one spot, people would stop and they would talk to me, but then every single time they were going to a different place.
How are you communicating them? Like through a translator or
Microsoft Translate. It's way better than Google Translate. You can I set my phone up like this in the car, and then you can just carry a conversation. So I'll talk in English, they'll talk in Chinese, and then it just real time translates and you just read.
Oh, that's so cool.
It's so cool, yeah.
Can it do voice too? Like if because I'm imagining if they're driving, they got to keep reading it. Sometimes it's a bit.
No, so it doesn't do that. So what I'll do is I'll just click play. Like it doesn't automatically read it out.
And then it will read it out.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. That's still good.
But incredibly handy, yeah.
All right. So all in all, how many countries have you hitchhiked through?
I think in every country. I mean, when I was younger and in school, I didn't hitchhike through the countries that I went through, but in my adulthood, post school, every country I've ever traveled to, I've hitchhiked in it.
All right.
Whether it's the entire time or just one hitchhike because I couldn't catch a bus or something.
And how many countries is that approximately?
I think just under 40. I think I'm at like 35 or 36.
That is
But,
awesome.
I mean, the west coast of Africa alone, like
Yeah.
going from London all the way down to Cape Town, that was like 22 countries, I think.
Yeah. And then, so from actually, let's start with, so your trip from down the west coast of Africa. So what countries did you go through altogether? Would you be able to name them all?
I could, yeah.
Yeah.
So we crossed into Morocco, Mauritania, Senegal, Gambia, back into Senegal, because Gambia is like a little, it's an Old English colony situated inside of Senegal.
Yeah.
So Gambia, back into Senegal, Gambia, not, whatever I just said. Yeah, Guinea.
Mm-hmm.
Where am I? Oh yeah, Guinea, Ghana, Togo, Benin, Nigeria, Cameroon, Congo, not DRC,
Okay.
Republic of Congo, Angola, Namibia, South Africa.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you ever encounter an area or go to a place where you were just like, I got to get out of here?
In terms of like
Fearful, like you were like, this
safety.
place, safety, or like this place seems kind of shady, or something fell off, like, or an actual situation.
I think so. The port crossing from Nigeria into Cameroon. Don't quote me on this, but I think it is one of the most dangerous and like it's the most congregated scammers. Like they have such a big scamming business at that port, and I think that was probably it felt pretty unsafe that time, just because we're hitchhiking, so we rock up on foot. Like our driver dropped us off. We were taking a transport truck, and then just the mass, like sheer amount of people, like men that would come up to you, being like, you almost aggressively being like, you can't do this, you have to pay, but it's a free ferry, saying you have to pay, you have to give me money, follow me, pulling on you, grabbing you, like telling you have to come with them, when really they're scamming. Like they're just being aggressive so that you feel intimidated to go with them.
You were prepared for that in advance, though. Like
we knew.
Okay.
Yeah, we knew that the crossing was going to be like that. To be fair, I mean, it wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. I thought it would be a lot more intense, but I think it is one of the most dangerous border crossings.
Yeah.
In the world. Yeah.
And so, how did you handle that? Like, did you actually end up having to give money to any of these scammers, or you
it's truly just like a head down, like lock-in moment, and you just ignore people because they can't do anything. Like there are police there, and the police know what's going on. But there are police there, so like they can't actually do anything. Like it is a free ferry.
They just try to intimidate you.
They just try to intimidate so that you give money, and then, or like, for a bunch of things, like SIM card, they'll try to get you to get the SIM card for the next country, intimidate you with like ferry price or ferry ticket. But yeah, you just go head down and they leave you alone.
Okay, yeah. All right. And so out of all the places you've been, where would you say? Let's go for where was the best and where was the worst?
Okay. I get this question so much.
Yeah.
It's so hard to pick both, I think. But if I had to pick, let's end with best. So let's start with worst. I think just in terms of overall safety of a country and enjoyment, I would say Mauritania was my least favorite country.
Okay.
I just felt pretty unsafe. They don't have like a set up waste disposal system throughout the country, so like it was absolutely the dirtiest country I've ever been to.
Okay.
Kind of the outlook of women and their position in society, I think I really struggled with.
Did you get treated differently because of the way they treat women in their society also?
I remember okay, so in Mauritania there's this iron ore train that is like the big tourists and Westerners and stuff really go to Mauritania just to hop on this, to train hop.
Okay.
And so it goes from Nouadhibou or Nouakchott, I can't remember, one of the two like main cities, one of the only cities, because it's majorly like in the Sahara. It's made like just a sandy country.
Right. And
then it goes 200 kilometers inland to an iron ore mine, and then back out to the coast to unload onto ships and stuff. But the iron ore workers, like the mine workers, sit in the iron ore, and so now tourists have started doing it. I think there was also like a Yes Theory video on it that kind of had a couple million views and kind of got it buzzing.
Okay.
But I did that, and I remember I was wearing a t-shirt, like a regular t-shirt like you are now, and pants, and I had my hair wrapped in a scarf,
Mm-hmm.
just because of the sand and everything. So my face, it was just my eyes showing.
Yeah.
And so you couldn't see. I had hair at that point as well, but you couldn't see it. And I remember there was this like group of 6 or 7 young men, like maybe 16 to 18 years old, and they were like waving at us, saying hi, everything was fine. And then they got closer to us, and they noticed that I was a woman, because from a distance I just looked like a man. I'm wearing pants and a t-shirt. And then they started getting pretty aggressive. They said they started pulling on my shirt, accusing me of like disliking their religion and kind of going against it. And they're like, why aren't you Muslim? And then grabbing on my clothes, saying you can't wear a t-shirt here. And it was like 40 degrees, and I was so hot, and
Right.
I was like, I'm doing my best. Like, I have pants on and a t-shirt right now. I'm trying, but it was just too difficult, and there was no one around, so I was
that
dressed
kind of scary
comfortably, but yeah, it was pretty scary.
Yeah.
Especially because they were grabbing me, and just like, not even the grabbing was so scary, but just the sudden shift.
Oh yeah, just
in their eyes,
happily waving.
From happily waving to seeing that I'm a woman, and then just like seeing the shift in their eyes, and how I could see that the change and how they viewed me.
Right.
And that was scary.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And then on the more positive side, for positive.
Best country, absolutely. In like throughout Africa, I think it would have to be Cote d'Ivoire. I loved it. It was lush, and Congo. I really liked Congo as well, but I just liked the mountains in Cote d'Ivoire, and the people were really, really lovely. Hitchhiking was super, super easy there. Yeah, I think Cote d'Ivoire for sure. I would live there. Like I would retire there. I would live there.
Do they have like a hitchhiking culture there also, or you were kind of just doing your own thing, but they still?
No, you know what I think though? I think that in mountainous regions, just because the lack of like transport, mountainous regions tend to have a more lax view. I mean, even in Canada, like the West Coast,
yeah,
where in British Columbia, where we have mountains and like the Rockies and everything, people hitchhike way more than in Toronto, where it's just not a thing.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, for here in China also, it's the same thing. Tibet is the place where everybody hitchhikes.
Yeah.
Or there's a lot of hitchhiking.
Yeah,
Right.
so I don't think it's like people don't do it, but people do it.
And then, so overall, not just in Africa, just overall globally, where was the country you felt the safest?
The country, honestly, China.
Really?
It has to be China, yeah. The way that, like, when I'm in a car and I'm hitchhiking with someone, the way that people will go out of their way to accommodate me, or to, like, it happens so frequently, I don't even have to go to the toilet, but they'll pull over and they'll stop at a service station and they'll say, go pee, like, go to the toilet right now.
Yeah.
I'll be like, I don't have to, but I guess, sure, I'm going pee then.
Right.
Like, they're just so caring, and they make sure I'm fed, they make sure I have water, which, yeah.
That's cool.
It doesn't usually happen. People are nice hitchhiking, but they don't usually go to the lengths that Chinese people have gone.
Yeah, I mean, that's the one thing, like, people who live in China, have lived in China for a long time, the one thing we always say is the safety factor. Like, it's just so safe here, even for women walking around at night and everything like that. And so it's interesting you've already picked up on that, even though you were here for... How long have you been in China now for?
I've been here, I'm on day 18.
Okay, so yeah, it's still a relatively short trip. This is your first trip to China?
Yeah.
Okay,
First time to Asia. Well, I was in Nepal before this, but like in this trip, first time in Asia,
Yeah, but you've already picked up on that sense that it is a very safe place. No,
it's strong, it's like a strong sense of safety,
Yeah.
I feel.
Was your family kind of, I guess more so in the first trip through Africa, were they kind of against it, or?
Yeah, I think that in the beginning, especially because I had gone out for a 3-week trip, and then I had started, it had like slowly evolved, and then I was hitchhiking through mainland Europe, and then now all of a sudden I'm hitchhiking through northern Africa, and then now I'm actually going to go the whole way, and then I'm now hitchhiking through central and western Africa. Over time they got used to it, but in the beginning they were very, very upset with me. Like, this is careless, this is ridiculous, you can't do this, you're a woman. You should be avoiding these situations at all costs.
Both your mom and your dad, or was one more than the other, or?
I think, I think my dad definitely was a lot more anti hitchhiking and anti-traveling in this fashion. My mom's a lot more free-spirited. She's a lot more similar to me, I think.
Okay.
So she was kind of like, well, I trust your instincts. Do what you have to do, but get there, like, get it done.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And now, like, what's their? Are they just kind of like,
No.
you know, we can't do anything.
Yeah.
We can't.
Like,
we can't stop you anyway.
She's at it again.
Right.
Like, there's it's just become. It's like a year and a half now I've been doing it, so it's just my daily life. It's normal.
So, like, especially as, so your trip, your first trip through Africa was with someone else. Now this time you're doing it on your own.
Yeah.
Either when the first time when you were with somebody, is there anything like when people pick you up? Do you ever get in a car where you get a really bad vibe or something like that, or like, especially as a woman, I'm just wondering what kinds of experiences do you have where you were just like, oh, I'm glad that ride is over.
Yeah, I think that, like, here in China specifically, I mean, no, because people, it's more so just shock when I first get in the car.
Yeah.
Like, they don't, I haven't really had a bad vibe yet, but definitely in the past, but never through Africa. Well, one time in Benin, but even that, like, that wasn't hitchhiking. I was in a taxi, so I had paid for a taxi. The end destination for the taxi, I was going to visit, like, a pretty touristy spot, but Benin's very small and not many tourists go. And I was going to visit a voodoo market, and so I'd paid for a taxi. My friend that I was traveling with was sick. I was solo, and the taxi let me out 50 kilometers before the voodoo market. Like, he didn't go as far as he said he was going to go at all, so I was hoodwinked
50
completely.
kilometers.
50 kilometers far. And he wouldn't let me out of the car. We were communicating on Google Translate at this point. He knew a little bit of English, and I knew a little bit of French. So we were kind of talking, but he was saying, I'm not going to let you out. I want you to spend the day with me. He was being, like, overbearing and weird in the beginning, but polite, but too much. And then he started getting, like, upset, like, why don't you want to hang out with me? Why don't you want to spend the day with me? He'd locked the door at this point. So I ended up, they're called set place, so it's like a van.
Okay.
And they're the taxis that are, like, all over Western Africa. I end up having to, like, bang on the window for this guy that was, because thankfully it was kind of like a road like this. We were stopped at a red light, and up until this point I was being polite, which is an issue on its own, I think, for a lot of women when they're uncomfortable. But I bang on the door, this guy comes, I don't know how this happened, he spoke English, and I was like, he won't let me out of the car. He's like, let her out, she doesn't want to hang out with you. He didn't say that in English, he said it in French.
Right.
And then the taxi driver let me out, and then I ended up hitchhiking with, again, weirdly enough, 2 Frenchmen from France, and they took me the 50 kilometers. And
they were driving. They had their own.
Yeah,
okay.
All
right.
Well, they had a chauffeur, like a driver.
Okay. So you tagged along.
I tagged along. Yeah.
Right. Wow. Okay, that is scary.
But that one. Yeah, it was probably the scariest time in Africa, and I was solo for that.
Now I'm like specifically asking you about these kind of like incidences, or the most scary, or the least safe you felt. But overall, would you say that the final result of your impression of traveling the world, do you feel that it more or less met your expectations in terms of the safety level, if you actually have to be more careful than you anticipated, or you think it's more safe than everybody really thinks?
Yeah,
like, you know what I mean?
For sure it's more safe. And also I don't think that anything has, well, I know nothing has ever happened during hitchhiking that it's like, okay, this thing is happening to me because I'm hitchhiking, and because I'm, like, these things happen to women, whether they're hitchhiking, whether they're going home in a taxi, whether they're, like, hiking with friends or hiking solo. Like, women are in uncomfortable positions no matter what they're doing. So I think that, like, what I've noticed is that even when you're at home, like, your comfort zone, it's not as safe as you think, and the world out there is not as dangerous as you think. Like, it all is kind of relative to being a woman in Canada is just as safe, I've found, than being a woman in Benin, or, like, you get people, but they're very sparse, like, cruel people that have
bad
evil
intentions,
intentions, but the chance of you running into them are so slim.
Wow. Okay, that's encouraging to hear.
Yeah. Beautiful world out there. It's honestly, I've had such a good 2 years. Yeah.
So then, in terms of just the technicalities of hitchhiking, were there places that were really difficult to hitchhike or catch a ride? Are there some places that are easier than others? And like, for example, like what's the longest and also what's the longest you've waited for a ride?
The longest actually was here in China during the May Day holiday, just because no one was going in the direction I wanted to go, and that was 3 hours.
But you had plenty of people stopping,
yeah,
asking.
I had, which is almost worse.
Yeah.
Like constantly like having a conversation, but no one ever going in the same direction. It was pretty draining. But usually, like I would say, I average way less than 30 minutes, like 15 minutes less to wait for a ride.
Okay.
And then other than China, which now it's been pretty easy after the May Day holiday, Spain was pretty difficult to hitchhike in.
Because there's not a culture of it, or just
there's
because
not a culture, and people like really dislike it. They think it's illegal. Like in Spain, we were getting like people were flipping us off. People were yelling at us. Yeah.
That's weird.
Yeah.
They just don't like hitchhikers.
Yeah.
I wonder if it's like if it ties into this like anti-tourist thing also that's going on in Spain.
Yeah, it could.
You know, because they want to. I mean, the Spanish economy is almost totally based on, or a big part of it is on tourism. But people are getting upset with how high the housing prices are going because the people are leasing them out for Airbnb or whatever it is. I wonder if it might be connected to that.
It could be, yeah. Also, a lot of people just think it's illegal, which it isn't. But the culture there is very anti-hitchhiking.
Here in China, when people are stopping at the side of the road, do you think some of it is a curiosity because they see you and I mean, I don't know if they see you far enough in advance where they know, oh, this is a foreigner here, like what's going on?
Yeah, so that's kind of a weird thing that I've gotten in China is that I'm mixed. So my mom's Japanese, and so the way that I look, a lot of Chinese people think that I'm from the northwest region of China.
Xinjiang or something. Yeah, Uyghur, yeah. I could see that, yeah.
And so when they stop, well, I mean, when I'm doing anything, when I'm trying to get food, anything, they just speak to me in Chinese because they think that I'm Chinese. But usually there's like a little bit of a, what? Like, what? Really? Where are you from?
Yeah. Well, I guess when you start trying to communicate with them,
then
you
they
can't
know.
speak.
Yeah, I just go, hello. I go, ni hao, hello. And then they go. And then that actually, when I go, ni hao, hello, then they like stop and they're like, what's going on here? Like, why are you out here by yourself?
How often have you encountered someone on your trips here that has picked you up where they can speak English?
I think it's probably the lowest.
Lowest
in China. Yeah, I think there's like a statistic, like 5% less in China speak English. 5% of people or less.
I don't know. I've never seen that statistic, but I would imagine it would be pretty low. Yeah.
But I think, maybe it's happened twice where they've spoken English.
And well enough to have a conversation. No, just basic.
Basic. Like, where are you from? How old are you? Are you married? Stuff like that.
So, out of all of the places you've been in the world, this was the lowest level in terms of percentages of people you encountered that could actually converse in English.
Yeah. In Africa, it was wild. Like, people spoke, on average, like 5 languages.
Yeah, it's crazy there.
English, French, Portuguese. It's absolutely
and
wild.
like local dialects or whatever it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. So now this trip, I'm taking you to the entrance to the highway to Chengdu, and then I'll have to get on the highway to turn back around. But I think at the highway entrance is the best place for you to get a ride.
The toll station.
The toll station.
Yeah.
And so you're heading to Chengdu, and then where are you going after that? What's the rest of the route?
So the route for the whole trip, so in China I go Chengdu, Xi'an, and then essentially I'm going to skip Beijing, I think. Essentially I'm just going straight up to Mongolia. But then after that I do Mongolia, Russia, Georgia, Armenia or Turkey first. Turkey, Armenia. I don't know which one's first. I think Turkey, then Armenia, then Iraq, then Saudi Arabia. And then this is probably the trickiest part of the route, is figuring out, which I have confirmed it's been done, but figuring out a cargo ship going from Saudi Arabia to Africa, to Djibouti. That's probably the biggest logistical hiccup that I'm going to face. And then from Djibouti, I do the east coast of Africa. So I think it goes Djibouti, Ethiopia, Kenya, and then it kind of gets into a bubble down here. I don't really know what I'm going to do, like Zambia, Zimbabwe, or maybe I'll go over to Mozambique and then down to South Africa. I haven't really figured out. But those countries are super easy.
Iran, you didn't mention Iran. You're not going to go through Iran?
No, I'm not going through Iran.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that somewhere you don't have an interest, or it's just not on the route? Or
no.
Because everybody I've heard who's been there, they've just loved it.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it's...
It's just not on the route, and I think... I didn't look into it enough, but I think maybe the visa process is a bit more lengthy for Iran than it is for...
might be.
For, like, Iraq, and... I just picked the most direct route and the easiest in terms of visas.
With some of these countries that you go through, are you like researching on their local customs and things like that, and then do you have to basically prepare yourself so you don't have another situation like that you had in Africa, or?
Yeah. So like in Saudi Arabia, I have a scarf that I'll wear, and then I have like my long sleeve clothing that I'll wear. And I already know that just because of heat, like the way that I'm going to have to hitchhike is going to be, I'm going to aim for smaller distances just so that I don't have to be out for as long in a day, just because the amount of times I got heat stroke in Morocco and in Mauritania from hitchhiking, just from spending way too long out in the sun and having to be fully covered.
Yeah.
It's just too overwhelming. So to avoid getting heat stroke again, I'm going to, shorten my days, but still manage to cover up and respect the...
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that actually makes me curious also about the situation in these countries where you had that experience where they came up and they said you're not respecting their local culture.
Yeah.
When you're actually hitchhiking, do the drivers see that you're a woman also, and do they ever kind of lecture you about what you're doing, or like how did it work with the drivers?
Yeah, I don't know, because that's actually funny that you mentioned that. I've really... the amount of times I've actually had a scary incident while actually hitchhiking is so low, like so minimal. Whenever people pick me up actually hitchhiking, the mutual understanding that I'm a foreigner and that I don't subscribe to the same values and beliefs that they do is just so understood, I find.
Okay.
And so it's never really been an issue where they're like, why aren't you... I get... smaller things like, why aren't you married? Why don't you have kids? You're 26. You should be married by now. You should have kids by now. But never, you shouldn't be wearing that. They're more just concerned for me.
I wonder if it's a situation of where you're in a developing country, and if it is somebody who has their own vehicle, that being that level of kind of economic status comes with a certain worldly or more open-mindedness. You know what I mean? Rather than somebody, you meet out in the desert or something like that.
Yeah, that definitely would.
Isolated most of the time.
Yeah.
Maybe that plays into it.
Yeah. Because, like the guys that I met, that was like in the middle of the desert. They maybe hadn't even heard of my country before, which was a common thing that would happen when I would meet people.
They've never heard of Canada.
Yeah. So,
okay.
Which was common. It was very common. And especially my friends from the Netherlands, for them to know the Netherlands they never knew.
Yeah.
Country.
I have it a couple of times, like 10 years ago or so here in China.
Yeah.
They're mostly kids, though. It's like, I'm from Canada. And they're like, oh, that's a part of America, right?
Yeah. That happens.
Not yet.
I was going to say, who knows what's happening?
Wow. So what's been like the favorite experience or favorite thing about hitchhiking, or what happens as you're traveling? What's your favorite thing?
I think I don't know, I never know how to say this because I feel like side quests is such a weird way to phrase it, but yeah, definitely the side quests that I go on, and just like I remember this one time we were in Ghana and this guy picked us up, and he was in not a transport truck, but like a truck carrying cargo, like a van almost, and he took us to his farm and he showed us like his cows, and he was showing us his like not filtration system, the water system, what's that called? Going into a farm.
Okay, like irrigation
system. He was showing us his irrigation system and how he had set it up. This was in Senegal, and it was like our first introduction into sub-Saharan Africa, and it was just so beautiful seeing the field and then like seeing him show us everything, and that was like a little side quest that I was like, oh, this is just so beautiful, and I'm finally out of the desert and I can see green again. But stuff like that happens all the time.
I guess that would be the most interesting thing about traveling the way you do versus like joining a tour group or something like that you actually get to see ordinary people, the way they live, the things they do, the errands they run, and you get to go and sometimes run those errands with them.
Yeah, all the time.
Yeah, that is, I mean, the ultimate way to truly experience a local culture.
Yeah. I mean, I'll say it. I think everyone should try hitchhiking at least once in their life. Like the people that you meet and the experiences that you have are just so natural, and I feel like people are going on these tour groups, but then people just crave, I think, unique connection and unique interaction with the world around them, which I do think is just so hard, because when you're doing these tour groups and you're going to these, I mean, I love touristy areas. I like them. I like doing touristy things, but I think that when you base your trip around only doing these things, then you get like such a skewed perspective of a country, of the world, just because the people in the tourist area, obviously they're there because they're working and they're whatever, but when you're hitchhiking and you're going to these places where people don't expect you to pay for anything, or not pay for anything, like people aren't trying to sell you something, then it just feels like it's just like another day.
Yeah, for sure.
It doesn't really feel like you're traveling. It just feels like you're living.
Yeah. How long is this trip going to take you that you're now doing?
I think the ballpark is going to be between like 9, 10, 11 months.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then once it's done, what do you do? Do you go back home for a bit and then do another one, or is this your last one?
I don't know. Yeah, I think in terms of a massive undertaking like hitchhiking like this, I think this probably might be my last one. I mean, obviously, of course, I'll still travel, but I think I would lean toward bike packing.
Okay.
Or running long distance. But yeah, hitchhiking, I'll always do it, but an intensive hitchhiking trip, I don't think I'll do.
This is the last big one that you're going to do, like dedicated hitchhiking trip.
Yeah.
And then you might do something which is a dedicated long distance run or
bike packing. I've been keen on bike packing for a while now. I just need to sell my bike and get a gravel bike, but
it's good. That's good to do in China too. I had a friend who rode from, I believe he started all the way in Zhongshan, and he rode all the way to Xinjiang, which is really far. And
that's, again, the
northwest, where everybody thinks you're from.
Yeah.
Until you say hello.
Yeah. And they go, oh, she's not from there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
China's a good place for that.
And the roads are good.
Yeah.
The roads are so good.
The infrastructure is good.
That was a big thing in Africa, throughout West Africa, was
the quality of the roads.
The quality of the roads often weren't great, but all of the roads, the big roads and the highways were built by China. And there would be like massive Chinese signs and Chinese companies and stuff. But yeah, all over West Africa, China was building the roads.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. A motorcycle on the road. That's technically not allowed on this road, but
really, and no helmet. Scary.
Yeah. Yeah. So we're almost there. 4 minutes, and then I feel kind of. I probably feel more nervous than you, just like dropping you off at a highway entrance and just leaving you there. It's like I probably.
No, I'll be fine. I'll post my daily video in a week, and then you'll be like, "Ah, she got a ride in 4 minutes."
So you're not posting on on YouTube. You're on.
No, I'm not on YouTube yet. I have a couple ideas that well, not ideas. I have a couple videos that I'm working on. But I just think that I'm a bit of a perfectionist, and so when even my videos now, they're 1.5 minutes, I try to ballpark in that area, like 1 minute to 1:45 max, and those take me. The one I posted yesterday took me 5 hours to make, 1.5 minute video, because I'm still learning. I don't know how to do. I'm learning editing. I'm learning how to kind of do all of this still.
Well, some of your videos, I checked it out. It's what's the handle on Instagram?
Hitchhiker Courtney.
Hitchhiker Courtney.
Yeah.
And some of them are really nicely put together. And you've got your follower count isn't very high yet, but your views on your videos, you've got some really good views. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm hoping that they go up. I think just the consistency of posting, it really helps.
Oh yeah, the algorithm does favor you when you do that. That's cool. You should put some. I did a long form road trip video, which I just all my mobile phone, which I uploaded. I think it was like 5 years ago, and it got like I think it's like 500,000 views or something like that. And it was just all on my mobile phone and talking about now I'm going through the toll station. This is how the toll station works, whatever it is. But
through China.
From Shenzhen to Western Sichuan, just a little bit past Chengdu.
Okay.
And I was really surprised how many people, and especially because it was just on the mobile phone. Like now I've got a few different cameras set up here, but It was just super simple.
Yeah, this is super handy. I see this camera a lot, the Insta360.
Oh, it's so good. Yeah.
It would help
Well,
a lot, but
here
for
we
now,
are.
just my phone.
Here we
We
are.
made it!
Um,
Thanks so much for the lift.
yeah, no problem. This is it. Okay, so
So when I hitchhike,
how do you do this?
yeah, so I'll probably stand. It kind of depends because the trucks usually go further distances, but I'm not going that far. I'm just going to Chengdu today. So I'll probably, where that car's pulled over, I made the mistake of standing in between the toll booths.
Yeah.
And they just, I feel like the drivers just got so stressed because they didn't have anywhere to pull over and stop.
Right.
Or they would pull right up instead of pulling over a little bit and then going. But yeah, so now I would stand, up there.
Okay. All right. I'm going to try to do a U-turn there. I know it says no U-turn, but these signs are usually just suggestions. But
unless, is that a concrete barrier? Oops.
Yeah, that is a concrete barrier there. But yeah, no. Okay. Well, good luck.
Yeah, thank
you. And everybody can check out your channel and follow
Hitchhiker Courtney.
Yeah,
That's me.
Exactly. All right. Well, good luck. Thanks for talking to us.
Thanks for having me. Bye, everyone.
Bye. Yeah. You got it?
Let's get this bread.
Your phone is there too? All right, good luck. See ya.
See you later.
Okay, I got it.